How it feel to be a dad, how it feel to be a man. You provide by any means, and we sticking to the plan. Yeah, I do this for my seed. Come and listen, come and see. Remember, it was just me. Now it's all about we. Lead by example. This for my child. I swear that I got you for life. Went from the court to talking about buckets. Now we talking Pampers and wipes. I really love this though. Look at you and get inspired. You the fuel to my fire. Come here, let me change your diaper dash.
Yo, what it is your boy GQ.
There's your boy Boog. Welcome back to the final episode of season 5. Man, it's been a long time coming. GQ, we had this vision. We brought a lot of guests on, but I think this one is the most important.
50 episodes, is it?
We're probably a little bit over that because I think we elongated the first 2 seasons. We went a little deeper than 10, but I think this episode is the one. This is the one, bro.
If you guys are watching on YouTube, obviously this is our first time not having a all male cast. Today we got Liz on. Liz, introduce yourself for the people that don't know you.
Hey, it's Liz, and I am a single mother, single parent of 4 beautiful daughters.
So, me and Liz are good friends. We met at the gym. We go to Lifetime, and gradually, like a couple months ago, last year, we would always be working from the cafe, just always. And then gradually just kind of had conversation and then, found out, she has 4 girls. I have 2 girls. Boog has 2 twins.
No, wait, no. I have a set of twins. That's not 2 twins. That's a lot. Let's figure that out.
Which also Liz also has twins too.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
So we would just always talk at the gym, man, and just bounce off ideas, just getting to know each other, knowing about the kids or whatnot. But when we were talking, man, she just has a really unique story, and I was just man, if we ever do get the chance to, have a woman on the podcast, because obviously people that are listening and follow us, it's basically for dads. We only had dads on here, but I thought it'd be really, really good to have Liz on here, just, kind of just to express some of her feelings about defining a dad, a father, somewhat of her upbringing of her having a dad and what that means to the girls. But Bud, what you wanted to say before we dive deep and basically give Liz an interview, a deep dive one.
Dog, I'm excited. I'm excited for this one, bro, because this is like you said, bro. This is a real live interview, because we don't really tap into the female psyche. You see what I'm saying? A lot of it is just, we've been priding ourselves on we need to speak up more and, voice our opinions and things of that nature. But it's how does it how does it look to the other side, and how does it portrayed on that end? So I'm definitely excited. Thank you, Liz, for coming on. I've been poking and prodding around. GQ sent me the Instagram. I was looking at Instagram. I was like, damn, she really doing the thing. Because quite frankly, to be honest, having 4 of anything sounds like a massive, massive headache. So how do you stay on cue with your day-to-day? I'm going to tell you this. When my fiance leaves and it's Mina twins, I get a headache within the first 30 minutes because I'm picking up both ends, right? I'm taking care of my normal duties, and then everything that I normally don't think about that I have to do. You know what I'm saying? So how do you manage yourself?
Okay, so right now I'm holding up the mom juice right here for if you're not on YouTube, the mom juice. Well, first off, I have to say thank you all for having me on the show. It's an honor to be here. I feel the pressure because I am the first woman.
There's no pressure. No, there's no pressure because you own your story. You know what I'm saying? Like everything that you're about to say is come from experiences. So no pressure added at all.
I appreciate that. So I'm going to be 100% transparent, vulnerable in this episode. That way, everybody listening to it, all your fabulous viewers, will get the firsthand word from me. Okay, so how do I stay afloat is the question.
Basically, how do you stay the fuck afloat?
I guess for me, it's been that way since day one, unfortunately. They did have their dad in their lives at first, but I didn't realize how absent he was. So even when I had my firstborn, and she's 8 now, my twins are 6, and my youngest is 4. Even when he was around, he wasn't really around.
No, wait. Excuse me. I'm sorry not to cut you off, but you just danced around that. You have an 8-year-old. You have a set of twins who are 6.
Yeah.
Yo, she's a champion.
She just
and a 4-year-old. And a 4-year-old, right?
4-year-old. And she is fierce. She's fierce. She's like, I thought I figured it out with kid 1, 2, and 3, and then 4 came along, and I was like, oh, she's going to be easy because I've done it 3 times. Yo, she's a whole different ball game. I was like, I am not.
So let me ask you this. So when because everyone has the whole like impression of like, yo, having twins is like, it's a blessing, but sometimes it could be a curse.
Absolutely.
Just having like, even now when I have 2 kids, it's like, dang, I wanted twins, but I'm like, dang, I don't even know if my wife could handle having 2 kids, like breastfeeding and all of that. So break it down. So you had your first kid, right?
Right.
What was the feeling about that? Having your first kid, what was your reaction? Like, did you want a boy? Did you want a girl? Take us back 8 years ago of how you felt when you just had your first kid.
Okay. So for me, and let me just say this, your wife would be able to handle it. Like, we don't see that when it's like not existent, but she would be able to figure it out. But when I hear she's a rock star, so she would have gotten it down.
Hey, bro, listen, fuck that. You ain't got no choice but to handle it at that point.
You don't have a choice. You figure it out.
Exactly.
Okay, so for me, I was ecstatic when I got pregnant with my first because I wanted kids for eons. Like, I thought I was going to be 21, 22 having kids because I just couldn't wait to have kids. But we waited. I think I was like 29 when I got pregnant. So, of course, I was over the moon. And I wanted a boy at first. I think everybody just wants, like, not everybody, but maybe Boog is saying no. You're shaking his head no. I wanted a boy because you just feel like the boy is the protector. I had an older brother, so I was like, I wanted that for my kids too. But I'll be honest, I am so happy I had a girl. I'm so glad that I had her first. Because when twins followed, if I had a boy, he would have been like, no, Mom, I'm going to play with my trucks. She, like, stepped up to the fucking plate and was like, here's a bottle, here's a diaper. I don't think I would have got that from a little boy.
No, you wouldn't have. Trust me. You won't. You won't.
Yeah, you
these
know.
Little fuckers. These little boys they're miserable people. At this age, they're like that. They're like that 75-year-old, like, angry man. Like, they just are always mad about something, but they cry all the time. Like, I thought I was going to have all girls. I was praying I was going to have all girls.
Oh, my gosh.
This little rubber rouser came out first, and he's been just. But yeah, no, I'm sorry.
So you're excited, you get the girl, and everything's going good, and then 2 years goes by, and so you're pregnant again, right?
Right. Yeah.
You're pregnant again, and tell me how you're feeling about that, right? So you have your first. It's been 2 years. How is? Because we also talk about co-parenting and how hard parenting is just in general.
Right.
How was the first 2 years of like having a first child been for you? How was that?
To be honest, my first was really easy. like I didn't have, yeah, she was a lot of work. Any baby is a lot of work. But I was just so excited to be a mother that it just didn't matter how much work I had to put in. And then I just felt
I feel like that's every woman, man. To be honest,
yeah.
And that's a crazy feeling to have, to just like, yo, no matter what, like, I'm just gonna put the work in. Like that's wild.
Yeah. And to be honest, like looking back, I didn't realize I was like doing everything for the most part. So when I was planning the next, or we were planning, like all of our kids were planned, but I didn't think twins was coming along. Like I joked about it for like 12 years because it runs in my family. And I was like, yeah, we're going to be the one with twins. So I had convinced myself that we're not going to have twins because I said it so much in like a jokingly way. Like I nearly fainted when the doctor told us we were going to have twins. I don't know how that day was for you, Bug, but
that day was that. No, finish your day because your day seems a little bit. It's different from a woman's perspective. Because from a woman's perspective, like at least me talking out loud, it's like, oh, cool. Like this is a very, very special moment for, you know what I'm saying? Like for me, for the two that are coming, for the one that I already have, like. There's a lot of emotions going on. With me, it was like, man, what is going on? Like, I couldn't plan this out. Like, this is a story that, like, if I told somebody, they wouldn't believe. You know what I'm saying? I moved to San Diego, got somebody pregnant a month later to have 2 kids and to have twins, and here I am today. Like, it's like I couldn't script this out any better. You know what I'm saying? So I can't imagine what it's like for you.
Exactly. Well, yours, unexpectedly, I couldn't even fathom. Like, I at least had a practice round, so I don't know how you jumped into it with me.
Nah, I had, but you have no choice, right? Like, it's just like one of those things. Well, I already knew moving into it that I was going to be the best dad I could be. I was the best father I could be, rather. I was going to be hands-on as much as I could and do all that. I knew that was going to happen, but it was like 2, it's like, all right, well, I guess I just got lucky and I'm going to figure it out. You know what I'm saying? I'm very figure it out type person. So
yeah, I guess for me that day, I just wanted to confirm I was pregnant. You walk in, we actually had Kirsten, my oldest, with us, so we all 3 went back in the room together. Their dad, Kirsten was 18 months so the twins were born 2 months prior, so 22. Kirsten was 22 months old when the twins were born. So when I was confirming I was pregnant, I was like, just tell me I'm pregnant, because they want like a actual legit test. And I was like, okay, then I'll just move on with the pregnancy. But then Kirsten was acting up. She was like wailing. And so her dad took her to the waiting room. And it's just so ironic that the nurse was like, hey, the doctor's actually here to do the scan to confirm she's pregnant. I want you to come back into the room. So it was just so odd to me, like, who asked the dad to come back to the room when the toddler is like having a meltdown. And then just as soon as she closed the door, like she gelled me up and put the ultrasound thing on me. And she was like, yeah, I see 2 sacks. And I'm like, yo, bitch, don't just hit me with the first line. Yo, I hear 2 sacks. Like, I'm going back to science class in like the 7th grade. And I'm like, I know what that fucking means, but I don't know what that means.
No, you know what it means. You just don't want to believe it at that moment, at that current time. It's like, oh shit! Like there's 2 sacks, there's 2 kids. There's no way they're fucking feeding up one, feeding up 2.
Who doesn't butter you up and be like, okay, yes, you're pregnant? Like that's all I wanted to hear first. Oh, man. So it was a lot.
I think also, like I was saying, it's like having twins. It's like it's a gift, man. It's really a gift to carry more than. It's already a gift to carry 1 child.
Absolutely.
But to carry more than one, it's, you really got to look at it, it's beyond a gift, right? And to actually have them and they're healthy. Yeah. Like, so we don't look at that like that.
No, we don't. And that's what was my next question to you, because they say with twins, 38 weeks is like full term. How long did you go?
Okay, so rewinding back to my first, she was actually emergency C-section.
Okay.
Because her sac broke like at 6 a.m. But when I called the nurse, she was like, "Don't come in. It doesn't sound like your water actually broke." So I didn't go until midnight that night, and all day the fluid was leaking out of the sac. And so she didn't have any fluid surrounding her. They tried to pump more fluid in her, like around her, so I could have a natural pregnancy, but she ended up being an emergency C-section. So fast forward to the twins, they were going to be a C-section just because Johns Hopkins rules are, if it's under 2 years with the next kid, you're going to have
the C-section. Correct.
Let alone twins. And then let alone my second twin had placenta previa, which means the placenta didn't attach properly. So she was at risk, but thank the Lord, they were both healthy. And I did make it to 38 weeks. It was scheduled and everything went fine.
That's that's exciting. I don't like when we went in. I was crazy. Me and you having this heart to heart right now because Shane just had one and another. But it's like with twins, like when you walk in, you have these 38 weeks. You walk in, it's like checking into a hotel. There was never a call like, "Hey, my water broke. Like I need you to come in." You walk in, it's like flowers and shit. C-section, boom, boom, boom. Stitch it back up. We're done. Like that's awesome to hear though.
What was your guys' experience like?
I mean, I was normal. I was shook for the longest. Like me, when the day came and it was like, all right, motherfucker, you get ready to have kids. It was like, I remember crying in the car. I cried in the car. Had this like whole movie scene. My fiance was like, let's go get our kids. I don't know what the fuck I thought I was on, some like George Clooney type shit, whatever. But we went in there and then
George Clooney doesn't have any kids.
I get it, but I'm talking about acting wise. All right, let's move on from that. But when we went back there, like I remember, like it took like 6, 7 nurses to carry me and like help me in the room because I was like shaking. They were like, "All right, Mr. Davis, don't bump into anything. These big ass lights." And then she was just laying on the table, and then that blue sheet went up. It was like, "All right, here's somebody." Yeah. Took them off, and then within like my twins, they say a minute apart, but they're literally like 30 to 45 seconds apart when the C-section happens.
Oh, wow.
It's like one and it's like the other. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So, but man, that was a nerve-wracking. It was this overcoming feeling of like, all right, I got to do it. You know what I mean? Like I just got to be in the moment. So,
yeah, absolutely.
According to GQ though, Shane didn't cry. I was crying for no reason. Shane was apparently had this whole different experience. So we'll let him go.
Yeah, I didn't cry. You know, people think I would, but didn't cry on when any of the kids were born. Didn't cry on my wedding day. I'm an emotional guy, but I just felt like I was already ready for the situation. Like I'm already in it. Like I'm already ready. I'm like, all right, come on, let's go. Let's get it. You know what I mean? So a little bit different. So boom, now you have 3 kids, right? You got a 2-year-old, you got 2 twins. What is the feeling like? Is there what comes up with the body? Because like I said, for us, all we could talk about is the baby came, and that's really it. We do what we got to do, but like, what is going on? And you know, just tell some of the viewers like postpartum depression, or just being overwhelmed, or just like what in the first. Tell me what's going on in the first like 4 weeks. Is there any? Yeah, the first 4 weeks.
If I remember the first 4 weeks.
Because I feel like the first 4 weeks were like when you first have kids are like it's like a whirlwind. Like so much is going on. You gotta attend to your oldest. You got 2 twins, and you're trying to do what you need to do with them. So like, how was that now having 3 kids?
Yeah. It was exciting and tiring and exhausting. And if I had to speak about the first 4 weeks, I have no idea what even happened. It was like just survival mode. For me, like I said, look, and I'm not going to bash their dad at all on this. Like, he is who he is. And it's just unfortunate that a lot of like those late night feedings and things like that, like he just wasn't around. So my not even like 2-year-old, she was so excited about the babies and everything. And sometimes I feel the mom guilt because I allowed her to step into that role. Like she would hold bottles. I would hold one bottle. She would hold the other bottle. Like she knew I was changing diapers. She would go get the diapers. She's getting wipes. It was like she was like this little mama and she wasn't even 2 years old. But she is amazing. And that's why I'm like, I'm so glad I had her first because I know I wouldn't have got that with a boy. No offense.
No, you
But
wouldn't have. You wouldn't have.
it was exhausting. Like if you put one word on it, it was just exhausting. It was a blur. I don't really even remember how I survived.
Everything happens for a reason.
Oh yeah.
But now I want to know, because we always talk about communication is one of the biggest things parenting, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Communication, direct communication. Where and how has the communication gone wrong between two spouses, right?
Mm-hmm.
When the kids are that young, like, because obviously for me, I've come to a point where I realize like not every guy can be a father, right?
Yeah,
That's just the reality. Really, the reality behind it.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of the same thing when my mom was like, "Yeah, man, I went to college, and then like, man, the first couple of weeks, I was like, man, this ain't for me." You know what I mean? And
That's what I did too. I went to Virginia Tech and I was like, nah, I dropped out.
yeah, right. So her and my other roommate, I had a roommate my junior year. Shout out to Malik. He was a senior when I was a junior, and when the last game of the season, he was like, man, I'm going back to Philly. He was like, man, this school thing is just not for me, right? Mm-hmm. And from then and there, I realized that like certain things are not for everyone, and you can't really like judge them, right? Yeah. And I kind of feel like the same thing with fatherhood. Like we kind of talked about this too. Like we don't know what men go through before they had kids or certain traumas, you know, because as men, like we kind of hold a lot of things in. Right. But I just want to know, like, where has the communication gone wrong? Because there's 3 kids in the house. Lord knows you're tired as hell. But like you just said, like he's not really stepping up to like feed or, you know, do whatever you're saying. Like, what do you think like communication went wrong?
Okay, so if I rewind back and if I would have examined like would he been a good father, I would have never had children with him. And
how do you know that?
I guess
that's the thing though, is that like how like do just asking from a male perspective, do women think like, is that like a question that pops like, hey, I could have kids? Like it's like, all right, he's good looking, whatever, but it's like,
right?
Can I have kids with him? Is that the first thing that pops up to someone's mind?
For me, no, it wasn't. Okay. And like I feel like if we were together for so long, and we're always saying, oh gosh, we invested so much time. And I got hooked on that. I was like, we've invested so much time, so I might as well stay with this person. But after so we've been divorced, separated for 2.5 years. And when I look back, and not to bash on my parents or father in any way, we're all doing the best that we can. But my father wasn't in the household. Even though I was raised by both my mother and father, my father worked an hour out of town, so he had a commute, and then he'd work his 8 hours, and then he'd have a commute back, but then he worked a part-time job in the evenings. So I was raised by my mother. And
so I love this. Because me and Bug, like we talk about this, and like I said, we are always getting one point of view, right? We're not the best dads in the world. You know what I mean? We're not the perfect dads in the world. We don't have the best viewpoints, but we do have reality to being a father from different aspects. Mm-hmm. And, you know, one of the reasons I brought you on here is because I love your story. You're a great person, kind of funny a little bit.
Thank you. Oh, please.
But you I feel like you can kind of give, you know, listeners just kind of the viewpoint of like some of the things that we don't talk about, because we, you know, earlier in season 4, we talked about being present, but not necessarily being present. Right. Mm-hmm. And this goes for everyone. There's not only your situation, but there's millions of kids out there that was brought up with two parents in a household, but
Right.
one parent is like not present. Like they're probably alcoholic. They sit on the couch. They're depressed. They work hard. They're just not there mentally. It's
Yeah.
so much that goes on, like I said, but we don't know that when we're young, just because it's like, oh, like, you know, they're there, but when we start to grow up in certain things, you know, we act a certain way or we realize how we are. It's because of that. But I guess now looking back on it, like how much has that impacted you, and do you think it'll impact your kids of having a parent or having like a father, not only just a father but a mother, being there but not necessarily being there emotionally?
I mean, after, like, I went to counseling, I did therapy, like, I did a lot of healing after the divorce and just really trying to find myself. I was with our dad since I was like 18, 19, so I didn't really have any adulthood where it was just me learning myself and who I was with. But, I don't know, I guess for me, I look at things a lot differently than I did back then. So what I was necessarily looking for a partner back then, I'm not looking for now. And it took a lot of like healing and self-development and reflecting on my childhood. And like I said, it's no fault of my parents. It was during the times like they just had to make ends meet. So my dad had to work 2 jobs. But I kept thinking, like, after I divorced their dad, like, are my girls going to have daddy issues? And then I have 2 sisters, and one of them I'm really close with. And I just asked her, like, a couple weeks ago, I was like, do you think we have daddy issues? Because even though he was in our lives, he wasn't really present in our life. And she was like, why the fuck are you just realizing that? And I was like, I've never thought about it before. So it's funny how, not really funny, but I was so concerned about like making sure that my 4 daughters don't have daddy issues. I was like, damn, I haven't healed from my own. So that's probably like the next course
And
of
you
action.
come from like
Be a better mother.
you come from like a unique situation, because even like with your dad, like you said that he worked 2 jobs, right? So he was our commute 8 hours. He was at, you hear me?
Yeah.
Like your situation is unique. Like me, personally speaking, like my dad was president, but my dad wasn't there, and it wasn't by choice. I mean, he was there, like almost in a sense, like not by choice. Like your father had to go get it. He had to go grind it out. You know what I mean? And it's interesting perspective, because your dad was doing everything he could to provide for his family, but even though it's like you can't make up for time that's not spent with your kids. You know what I mean? It's just a crazy way of looking at it, because it's like your dad had to do he did what he had to do, and that's what men do. We provide. Like we're natural providers. Like we know how to hunt. We know how to get this money. We know how to make it happen. You know what I mean? It's still, even though his means were, he had the right intentions. It's just like how the effects could happen on the back end.
Yeah, I totally get that. And I can see how, like, your story, Bug, relates to, like, what I'm dealing with the girl's father. Because he was absolutely there. But he would be there, like, I don't know, 3 in the morning until 3 in the afternoon. But he was also coming off a high of alcohol or whatever else he was on. So he wasn't there to do anything for the kids. He was just there to sleep it off and then party again the next day. It was like nonstop every day. So did they see them? Did they see him? Yes, they saw him every day in the household. But was he involved? Was he going like to these little Easter egg hunts and different Christmas activities or birthday parties? Like he wouldn't attend any of that kind of stuff. But yeah, I never thought of it being 2 different perspectives like that. But just to feel a dad kind of being absent in a way, it's kind of hard. You know, it's hard for any kid.
Yeah, and especially when it comes to like your kid, I can only imagine what's like on the parents. Like me being in the house as a kid, seeing it, and then you understand it, and it's like, all right, yeah, my mom, like me, my mom now, we're fucking two peas in a pod. Like, you can't see my fiance, like, she like laughs at me because I call my mom twice a day. Literally, I call my mom twice a day. And this is for everyone's like, oh, Lawrence is a mom boy. No, fuck all that. No, I call my mom twice a day. When I speak to her in the morning, make sure she's good because she's by herself. But the second time I call her, just to make sure she sees the kids. You know what I mean? Because it brings lightness to her day. So I look at it from that perspective. So, yeah, nah.
Blame Boog, man. Even if a mama boy or not, man, like, I had both parents, but like, I don't blame someone for being naturally gravitating towards one parent if they fucking raised them their whole life. Like, I don't see nothing wrong with that. Like, it's only normal, especially when it's the opposite sex, right? So, like, say for example, I was a single father, single parent, right? And I raised two girls, and I did that my whole life with them. It's only natural for them to be attached to me, like, and call me or want a husband or a guy to treat them the way I treat them, or talk to them the way I talk to them, or care for them the way I care for them, because that's kind of all they know. You know what I mean? So, like, especially if a person done a good job, it's like the bar's already set. Like, if you ain't meeting that bar that my dad or my mom set, then I'm going to have an issue with you. And that might, and like you said, that might be daddy's issue, mommy issues, but I don't blame people for it, man. I really don't.
But you know what, though? And to your situation specifically, like, looking forward, like, you probably don't see it because you're at 8 years, and at 8, I can't imagine they might act like they're 25, because my 3-year-old acts like she's 18, and I can only imagine the shit just moving forward. But like the bond that you're gonna have with, like, just hearing everything, and you're gonna take everything for face value and just coach her through fucking life. Like, I could just think about all the times when I was in college and I would call my mom like, "Yo, I need to figure this out," and she was just always there. You know what I mean? And it's like that. It's just it's beautiful. So I don't know how it is for women, because, like, you're raising girls. I know a lot of girls butt heads with their moms, but, like, at the end of the day, like, your mom, and you're always going to be there, and I'm sure you're exemplifying that every day in and out with them. So it's gonna be dope when they get older, and all y'all just gonna be intertwined, and no one's gonna be able to fuck with nobody. It's gonna be perfect. I'm telling you.
It brings me to think kind of what we talked about before we jumped on the pod, of like the definition of a father to you, the definition of a dad to you. And I love this time and this topic right now, because I love to hear from different people what their ideal father means to them, because everyone has different definitions of what a father means to them, right? And because, you know, you came from a household where two parents are there, one not really present, and then obviously having a spouse that's not really present, and wanting them to be a father at that time, in that moment, not now, but like, what was your definition of a dad or a father?
Okay, so you're asking me the definition of a father back when I first was dating, before I had kids. Oh, man, for me, because of my situation where my father really wasn't in the household, I saw my mother raise us pretty much solely on her own. So I felt like, for me, that was my job, to raise the children on my own. I never even thought about, like, a man should split 50-50. We should do, like, your eyes are, like, getting all big.
Nah, they are,
Who,
man.
me? Nah, they are. They definitely are.
And I'll be honest, like, after listening to your guys' podcast, I was like, yo, I didn't even think there were men out there that existed that would even think like 50-50 was just normal. And it's I don't know. It's just the way I was brought up. That was just my life experience. That was my journey. I just didn't see it. I didn't experience it. So, to have a dad who was working 2 jobs to financially provide, and then for me to have children, I I don't know. He was there to financially provide, but then at the same time, I was there to financially provide.
Yeah.
And not to fast forward too quickly, but that was like my reason to be like, well, shit, I'm doing both sides. That's the end of that. Like, why continue with you if you're just not doing anything? So my definition of a dad, I don't even, honestly, I've never really thought it through. As naive as I was, like, I was a really good person. I was raised around really good people. And I was so naive to just think everybody in the world is just a good person. Like, why wouldn't you step up to the plate when you have a child? So when it didn't happen, I was just mind blown. I was just like, how could you not be present when you have a child? Because like you guys said, like, yeah, if you were out working, it makes perfectly sense. But if you're out partying and getting fucked up every night, like, that's more important to you than your child.
So let me ask you this real question. I'm sorry, because I just wanted to hear this. So what is your number one expectation of when it for what it would look like for a man to be a father? Like, if say you're meeting a man, he's your number one expectation. You're getting ready to have a kid. What is your number one expectation of him? Like, where are you setting the bar for him? If that makes sense.
I mean, honestly, now it would be a conversation about actually having kids and how they would be involved with the child.
Okay.
Back then, it was like, can you provide for your family and protect your family?
Correct.
So was there ever like any like, because even like, I would suspect like women to like look at us the same way we would look at them, as far as like was like little hints of like, oh, like this is the one, you know what I mean? He's showing a little bit caring, a little bit of writing, you know what I mean? Like going a long way. I know you mentioned time was like, you said time was because you guys put in so much time together that it would automatically translate. Like, what was there like little behaviors here and there that you saw that was like, all right, maybe we could do this?
Well, this is about to get deep.
We don't have to get too deep, but I'm just saying, like, it's a normal thing to do. Like, some men look at women like, oh, maybe she could have my kids one day, and some women look at men like, oh, he's the one. You know what I mean? Like, there's certain like behaviors or anything like that. Like, what does it look like to you?
Okay, so for me, I was in a very toxic relationship. So we would have those really high highs and those really low lows. And as much as people don't want to talk about it, I talk about it because there are women out there that if they hear my story, they'll be like, shit, she's dealing with that too. I'm dealing with that. I'm not alone. And then they find power in themselves to get out of it. But for me, once I was caught in that cycle, it's so hard to get out. And even me as like an educated woman that has a great job, who has her own place, who has her own car, makes her own money, it is still so hard to get out of. So yeah, I'll be honest, every time I had a child with him, I left, I moved out, I was like, I'm doing this on my own, and then he convinced me to move right back in. So it was tough. It was hard. I never gave my children stability. Like, they had a really trashy childhood that I'm making up for now.
So like, when was it like, I feel like I'm not going down a rabbit hole, but it was like, because you just brought up the cycle, but like, when was it like, all right, it's either him or my kids, you know what I mean? To get a bit that better childhood or whatever it was. When was it like it clicked? Because like we see it all the time. There's a lot of women out there who are in toxic relationships who are like stuck in that cycle and they just will never leave. You know what I mean? When was it that moment where it's like, all right, this is it?
Yeah, honestly, everyone's like, leave for yourself. But for me, I left for the children. I saw how they were being affected by it. My children would not sleep through the night. They would have nightmares. They would come running to my room in the middle of the night. The night that I decided to leave, it was really spontaneous impulse. I went to my mother's house, my parents' house. We slept in their like one spare bedroom, and my children slept through the night for the first time, like in their lives. They slept through the night, no problems. Wow. One of my twins was like potty training, regressing. Like I could not get her to be potty trained. And I was like, what is going on? You've been potty trained. And then 2 months later, you're regressing. And I'm like, what? I'm thinking, what is her problem? But honestly, once I moved back into my parents' house, and I will admit this, at like 34 years old, I did move into my parents' house. Even though I was stable, I could do things on my own. I'm so glad I did that, because it like woke me up. I was like, oh my God, my children slept through the night for the very first time. Like, they are at peace. They feel stable. They feel safe in my parents' household. And I was like, as a mother, I wasn't providing that for them for the entire part of their lives.
Damn, that's a blessing. That is a true blessing. You know what I mean?
How does that make you feel, man? Because one thing I was thinking about is like, we only know what we know, right? And the reason I say that is because it goes back to just picking a spouse that we believe can be the right spouse for us and our kids, right?
Right.
But when you grow up in a certain environment and you only know what you know, that sometimes just that viewpoint kind of sets you up for what's going to be next to come, right? And this happens for all of us, you know what I mean? For jobs, relationships, parenting. That viewpoint that we know growing up, when we're locked into that, that's usually what's going to happen when we get to adulthood. You know what I mean? Unless, you know, something drastic happens or someone comes in your life that can actually change you.
Yeah.
But just knowing that, seeing your father do what he does, just grinding it out, and then kind of just having that same mindset of like, you know what? I think a woman can do this shit, man. As long as I got someone just here in the house, you know what I mean, financially, like I can actually do this shit. And then kind of realizing like, yo, you know what? This shit takes two to tangle, you know? Yeah. And then how it's kind of affecting the kids and you actually seeing that with your own eyes. Like, how does that make you feel? You know, at that time, like, you know, damn, man, I fucking invested in this shit, man. And the kids could have done better.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, even looking back now today, I regret absolutely nothing because I have my 4 beautiful daughters. So
good.
I always see something in life like a blessing from God. And I know every time, like, I heard from the doctor, like, you're having a girl, you're having a girl, you're having a girl. I was like, I'm like, God has been like knocking at my door for so long to be like, yo, if you don't leave someone who is toxic to women, you are not doing right by God's children. And I solely, like, I believe I had no voice because every time he was like, yo, you keep fucking up, I'm giving you another girl until you realize, like, you are fucking up by staying with someone who's so toxic. So no, and then
but you know what? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Go.
Go finish your statement. No, I was just saying that, like, it's kind of like your own. It's like what GQ was saying is like, at some point, your own previous experiences of growing up in a household where it's like where something isn't right, it kind of creeps in and it kind of talks quicker than what you're actually going through. It's like shit. Like for me, like for instance, like. I think about it all the time. Like when I give these 2 fucking knuckleheads I got upstairs a bath, it's like, when's the last time? Like, not when the last time my dad gave me a bath, I'm a grown ass man, but like going back to my childhood, it's like, damn, like I don't ever remember my dad doing something like this, or like, damn, my dad was cooking dinner for me, or you know what I mean, like little things like that. At some point, it creeps into your psyche, and you're like, shit, something's not right, and then that's when you make the change. So.
And did you guys have that? Did you have the father that was like cooking and cleaning and like 50-50?
If that Negro wasn't sleeping, I don't know what he was doing. But it's
mine's
cool
a little
though. At
bit
the end of the day, like that's my pop. Like even now, if you ask me, like that's my pops. Like I'll never hold any grudge against him because at the end of the day, whatever happened turned me into who I am today for my two.
Yeah.
So it's like whatever. So I just glossed it over. But like growing up, man, I'm telling you, if that motherfucker wasn't asleep watching ESPN, I don't know what he was doing. Like I said.
I think mine's a little bit different. My dad never was a cooker or he wasn't really an emotional person, but he was there. You know what I mean? Like he was always present, but he's kind of the same way too. Like he a grinder. Like he gonna go out, he gonna grind, he gonna get it done. And I feel like that is somewhat of the old typical male, right? Just like put your head down, keep it working, provide. All right, the family's good. They got a shelter over their head. They got clothes on their back. Everything's good. But, you know, with society today, with everyone having a voice, it's starting to come alive that, you know, dads can be more or dads can step up more or they don't get the credit they deserve or they're not there emotionally. So now, you know, it's kind of like changing now. You know, things are a little bit changing and people are there more emotionally, not only just physically, but, you know, just overall being a father aspect. But I think,
But
like,
also culturally too, though, right? You can say
true.
You know what I mean? You're Jamaican. It's a different story. You know what I'm saying? You've had this argument like 2 seasons ago when we were together. We were talking about the whole 50-50 situation. Remember that? Yeah,
Yeah. I think the 50-50 thing is good, but I think also like there's cultures out there still. It's not 50-50. It's 80-20. That's just how that shit goes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Ain't nothing gonna change. Like it's traditional. You know what I mean? And if you break tradition, you're just not gonna be in the tradition. That's just how it goes. That's just how it goes. So. I think it just at the end of the day, I feel like it's what works for you, right? Because like right now we're in a space right now where like all three of us we're saying like 50-50 is good, right? Like you do this, you do that, you scratch my back, I scratch your back, you be there, I be there. But then some people, it works for them like 40-60,
right,
or 7-30. You know, there's some women out there like, you know what? I can hold this shit down. All you got to do is just bring in the money, just be here, and that's it. Like, you know, I got uncles or my dad is, you know, can be there for the kids. But then sometimes, you know, later down the road, that can affect the kids. You know, people don't really look at it too deep. But I think it goes whatever works for other people, you know?
Yeah, I agree.
Everyone's different.
And you always say it the best, Shane, is like, yo, your kid, no matter what happens, your kids are always going to know who was there.
Always.
Yo, that is the one piece, that's like the top 3 piece of advice I've taken from you. Is that no matter what, if you ain't got to be there 24/7, you got to be in their face all the time. But listen, they going to know when, at the end of the day, daddy was there, mommy was there. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. That's definitely a GQ quote right there.
You never have to talk bad about the other spouse. Some people do it. The reality behind it is kids are so smart. They already know what's going on. They gonna pick up on it. Like they gonna be driving in the car one day and they're gonna be like, damn man, Dad was never at my swimming practices. Mom was always there. And they're gonna be like, Dad was never at my birthday party. Mom was always there. And then finally, they're just going to pick up on it. And then guess what? They're going to be calling their mom twice a day like, Lawrence, like, yeah, man, what's good? Y'all all right? That's just how it goes.
Yeah.
That's how it goes.
Yeah. That's how it always goes. And big ups to Liz. She says, I'm not going to talk bad about him. It's just, you know what I mean? It's just we're facing reality. I got to step up to the plate, and I'm more than capable of doing so. So I'm definitely giving you flowers for that because that's oh my God. Because you literally you think about it, you had 3 under 2.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. My cousin had 4 under 4 like as of like a couple months ago because like our oldest turned like 5 or something like that.
Yeah, I think I was very close to 4 under 3.
Oh my gosh, I can't imagine, dog. You know how many times I've thought about quitting with these two, and Ashley was here? Like, bro, many times I'll just look at the walls and be like, man, fuck this. This is crazy. But the fact that, like, but you know what though? The beauty of parenthood is like you're old, like if you're in it, you're in it. Like you're gonna wake up the next day, you're gonna get to it. Like fuck last night. Like yeah, you maybe slept 2 hours, but whatever. You know what I'm saying? That's really dope.
I wanted to ask you, like, what do you feel about sacrificing yourself for kids? And I'm talking about, like, basically giving up who you are as an individual to basically now take care of another individual. Do you feel like that is, like, mandatory as a parent? Do you feel like it should be some type of balance, like you shouldn't lose yourself? Or do you think it's just, you know, whatever you think? What do you think? Because everyone has a different opinion. What do you see now that you're like, you like a vet in the game? You've been there when you basically put all your eggs in one cart, and now you're kind of balancing yourself. What do you feel like it should be like the protocol for, taking care of, parenting?
Yeah, definitely for me at first, I was like, this is my job. This is my responsibility. If he's tapping out, then I have no choice. It has to be me, 100% me. And then I know, like a lot of mothers can relate. And I don't know, there's dad guilt too, right? Like there's mom guilt, there's dad guilt. Like we feel guilty for, my book is like, big eyes.
Guilty about what?
I don't want to say there's just mom guilt. Like, is there dad guilt too? Like, you're giving up a part of you to sacrifice for your children, right? Like, do you feel guilty?
Yeah.
Going to play ball or going to something because you're like, oh, I should be there.
Yes, no, there is. Yes, that there is, but it's not as heavy as it is mom guilt. Yeah. And the only reason why I say that is because, like, me firsthand living this shit out is like my fiance wants to be around the kids. Like she just like her mind is like kids. Like that's my life. You know what I mean?
I get it.
And no knock to her. She's a completely. Yeah. She's more than welcome to feel that way. But me, like I just came home today. I went to Boston for the weekend because I was like losing my mind. I pride myself so much on this, and Shane knows what I'm talking about because Shane always says is that like I got to take care of me first. That like I used to be like, nah, he's probably not right. But after a while, I start feeling crazy. And I'm like, I got to step away and not feel guilty about it and come back refreshed versus me like living through it and making everybody upset.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, it took me a while to like find a good balance between everything. I will admit, like the first 2.5, 3 years, I was like, no, I got this. Like, this is easy. This is what I'm here on earth to do. And then I don't know, through my like healing process and self-development, I was like, no, I need to get these kids like ready for the universe, like for the world, not just my opinions, not my perspectives. And I started to feel like, yo, I'm failing them. Like if they don't hear from another grown up on how life is supposed to be, or just to get something to kind of pull at what I'm giving them versus, well, grandma and grandpa said this, or my uncle said this, or my godfather said this. Like, I just felt like, yo, I'm really failing them if I don't get them out there. Whether it's like my girlfriend watches them and they sleep over there, and now I make it like, I know for sure every month, like the first weekend of the month or one weekend of the month, they are going to their grandparents. And that's not just for me to have my free time, but for them to just like get a different perspective on life. And I don't agree with all of the like rules and everything that my parents have, but I feel like I turned out okay. Like they're not trying to fail me. And if my kids can even if someone's going to teach your kids something negative, you can at least come back and say, have like a conversation about it with your kids. Like, yeah, I realize they said that, and I just feel like there's so much growth in that than just being the sole person or the sole two people raising the kids all alone. I think you should involve a lot of people. But that was really, really
GQ. This is the second time we've heard that word on this podcast, and you know what I'm talking about because Banye said it when we were talking on episode, I believe it was 3. The word fail. You're never failing if you're trying to be there. All right, I'm saying that. I gotta say it again. You're never failing them because you're there. You're putting your best foot forward. Yeah, you may mess up here or there, whatever. They're not gonna die. They're just gonna cry about it, and you just know not to do it again. All right, so you're never failing. But no, you got the perspective. Yo, her perspective is so intricate because she has the perspective of like a male and a female. Like some females, it's like, no, it's me. Like, thinking, I'm so like, Ashley, they need to be under someone else's direction at some point and understand not everything, like you said, that person's teaching them is correct, and we can correct them in the back end. You know what I mean? But at least they're getting that developmental skills of like listening to other people and being under different instructions. And that's why, like, I tell Ashley, like, go away so I can have 2 in 1 time because I'm a different parent than she is. Like, some things that work for me don't work for her.
And
but like, you know what I'm saying?
Correct.
They active.
That's another story and a half. But no, it's dope that you get but it's dope that you get your girls out and they get under different adults that you trust. You know what I mean? And they can gain trust with those adults.
Yeah.
One last topic, before we close out, which I've been holding on to. We kind of talked about this, one-on-one, Liz. What have you been doing to kind of like put that male figure in the girl's life, right? Because, they're going to need it. You know what I mean? Like, no matter how much you're Superwoman, how much you're a gladiator, how much you're, the best person in the world to them, I truly believe that when it comes to girls, they need a male figure. You know what I mean? Because they need some type of criteria to look at. You know what I mean? Like, to pick a father or to pick a husband or a friend or, just in general, like what a man actually is, looks like,
Yeah, that's a really good question. And there's even like different, femininity and masculinity. Like just to have that around is a different sense of feeling for your children, even if it's not purposely placed there. Like they feel that. They know if it's a man present, they know if it's a female present. But for me, honestly, that was one of the hardest things that I dealt with leaving. I was like, they're not going to have a father figure. I really knew deep down that he was going to be an absent parent, sadly. He does have 2 older children, which, mind blown, like I should have seen that. I should have seen that coming. But yeah, I just came to terms with it when I left. I was like, I'm going to try. I'll try to have him present. But if he's not, each of them have godparents. So they have a godmother, godfather. So I try my best to keep the godfather in the picture. And then I have my father and 2 brothers. So I always make sure like they're around them in some sense. Unfortunately, their grandfather and any male figure on that side has passed away. Their dad only had like 4 sisters. So there's no male figure there. Otherwise, I would have kept that connection.
I gotta tap in a little bit deeper. Even though that was just my last, I gotta tap in a little bit deeper.
Yeah.
No, because I got a follow-up question to all this. Because
this is big. This is, to me, this is big. These, for some people that don't know,
I know
Liz, for some people that don't know, Liz's kids are biracial, right? Beautiful, beautiful girls. And, one thing that we talked about is them having, curly hair, you know what I mean? So they do have that complexion and they have that heritage of having Black in them. Everything's great about, your brother and your father and father. No, I don't know who's the godfather, but Oh, yeah. So Liz, I tell you, boy, she be on some
My
motherfucking funny
people are
shit.
all me.
Yeah. Where is that black culture coming from for these kids, right? Because
Absolutely.
they look like you, right? They have certain features of you, but I, but they have also that ebony in them, right?
Yep.
That melanin in them,
Yes.
and yeah, but I'm on my vocabulary shit today.
Yeah, you really are.
but
I'm like very, very like
but like
impressed right now.
where is that actually coming from? And I think that's also important too. You know what I mean? That they understand that background, who they are. I'm not just this. I'm not just that. Like I'm this. I'm everything.
Yep.
So
And how do you
where
keep that afloat? How do you keep that not because GQ up, but like how do you keep
Yeah,
that
yeah.
like keep it in the forefront, right? Like that's important. Like you should know who you are. You know what I mean? Like a lot of
Yeah.
people don't think about it. Some people are blinded to it. You know what I mean? Like I seen
Mm-hmm.
Shane sent me the IG. I looked at it. I'm like, I'm about to send this off to Ashley because she needs to see this. Like this is dope. You know what I mean?
Oh,
For
thank you.
Caucasian women who have biracial kids, like it's like a real like how do you it's not I'm not saying maybe you purposely do it or maybe not, but like you keep their culture and their heritage in the forefront and to who they are in society. So how do you obtain that throughout their life?
Yeah, I honestly, I don't know where it stems from. My family is completely Caucasian, white. Their godfathers, for the most part, are black. But I do find myself, so I've always gravitated to just different people, any background. It doesn't really matter to me. I'm also prior service military, so that's just the norm for us. We just get along with whoever's around. But there were also battles like with my childhood with my parents, and again, no shame on them, but they raised me, they grew up white privilege and they didn't have to fight like any black had to fight, and they don't understand where they came from. And if I say the girl's father did anything right, he did let me know like what the struggles were that he would go through as a black male. So I did hear a lot about that from him, experiencing that, and hearing what his parents experienced as well. And I just knew it was so important when I had mixed race kids, black and white, that they had to know that growing up and know their identity. That was probably the second thing that scared me the most, was like, how can myself as a white woman raise what is going to be perceived as black children in this world and in this racist American society? So for a long time, that's why I did stay. I was like, I can't do this by myself. There's no way. I don't have the experience. I don't have the knowledge to be able to raise them in what they deserve to be raised in. But for so long, I did try to keep like his family involved. And I do find, whether it's subconsciously or consciously, when I set up play dates, I am going to ensure that they're surrounded by black children, by black adults or biracial adults that are just like themselves, but a diverse background of people. I just know it's so important to them to see that. They're getting the white female role all the time. They see my white privilege all day, every day. And I'm not going to say fail again, but if they think like they're going to be able to do the same things that I can in society, they're not going, like sadly, and I've cried many nights over this, like they're not going to have those same privileges that I do. And that scared me shitless. So I think that's why I put so much work into it, to make sure that they're surrounded by it.
But you know what though? Like being a biracial kid who was raised by a Caucasian mother who did time in the military and who was very open minded to all walks of life.
Yeah.
You may not even notice that it's like you're probably almost like feel like you're almost putting too much emphasis on it, that they kind of like they already know like what the deal is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like me growing up, compared to my mom, like maybe I wasn't thinking about white privilege and all that shit back when I was growing up because it wasn't really like a thing. But like understanding who they are kind of like sets the precedent for like how they understand society or treat them. Like, I didn't know, like me growing up personally, I grew up in Colombia, like everybody loved everybody, like everything was cool. I didn't understand like what the disparity was until I moved to where I live now. And I was like, oh shit, like damn, they don't just like walk up to me, but then you understand what your upbringing was. Now to reflect back on that was like, all right, well I see like my mom was being treated a certain way, and oh maybe that's why we were looked at funny here, or maybe I was looked at funny this way in college, like, but they know and they'll understand it, being as though you make it so prevalent that they're like really like they understand it, they get it.
Yeah, and I appreciate you saying that. Like, when I first acknowledged it, I went like full force. Like even my girlfriend, she's Black and Puerto Rican, but she's perceived as Black because she's got all her features mainly present Black. And she was like, "Yo, you're going too hard in the paint. Like, can you back off a little bit?"
You just gotta know what you know.
Pressure. Yeah.
No, it ain't pressure. I mean, it's not pressure. Nothing's pressure. Yeah. You got this. You know what I mean? Like, this world is crazy as it is. There's going to be there's a lot more biracial people in this world, and no one's pure black or white these days. You know what I mean? So it's like the chances of you really walking down the block and not seeing somebody or like knowing somebody who is of a different color, a different background, creed, whatever, it's kind of like slim to none.
Yeah.
But it's cool. It's interesting for you to say that out loud, though, because like I feel like a lot of Caucasian women who have biracial kids would be like, "What are you talking about? Like, you don't even understand." But it's like, nah, there's really like differences. Like my kids, like my daughter has curly, nappy, like black people hair, like naturally curly, thick. My son has curly hair, but it's like that. It's called. Not even medium. He has that, like, if his hair goes long, it's like gonna drop, like that surfer, thin, curly, like brown, light skin hair. So it's like completely different. A lot of people don't understand. Like, yeah, you having biracial kids, but it's like you gotta really know what it's like and like understand it, because it's two different backgrounds you're walking at that point.
Yeah, definitely.
Man,
well, take us away, man.
Man, nah, dog, there's got to be another hour on this episode, bro. I got a lot more questions to ask, but we're going to keep it up to where it is, bro. Listen, Liz, thank you for hopping on here with us. We are tremendously appreciative of your blessing to this podcast and giving us your perspective. Please shout out your infamous Instagram, because it's definitely catchy. For those who have biracial kids or any other walk of life, please follow that joint. What is your handle?
All right. Well, thank you so much. You guys are amazing. You're killing it out here. I'm so thankful for you having me on the podcast. So I'm at Instagram, Girls with Da Curls, which is girls at not the, but DA curls. And I'll tell you like a little story. My 8-year-old, who was 4 at the time, she was like, "Mom, the is not spelled DA. Like it's spelled THE. Will you correct that?" And I was like, a little bit too late. So I'm Girls at the Curls, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube channel where we give curly hair tutorials, and I'm also writing a book, which is going to be called Curls Untangled by Girls at the Curls. So we'll see how it goes.
Yo, we gotta go another hour, bro. We didn't even tap into the book, and yo, there was so much unsaid on this episode. We might have need a part 2. I'm just saying, we might need to. We're
definitely doing a part 2 for sure.
Okay.
Appreciate Liz coming on. Like I said, man, these are relationships that I build at the gym. You know, and I've told people this multiple times. I spend a lot of time at the gym, but Liz is an advocate. Sometimes it's a relationship building place, and it's a place for us to kind of just like relieve ourselves from like having kids or what's going on in the world. It's like a lot of the times we just be laughing and geeking and acting like we doing work, and we not doing work on the laptop, and then eventually we get to work out. But you know, just here to tell people, man, just find an outlet that gives you peace
Yeah.
because that's needed. Like, you know, I've had multiple people on here that I've met at the gym, and for me, the gym is like, it's really a sacred place just because it's so many connections, and there's a lot of people that have kids, but, you know, find that sacred place, guys. You know, it might be a gym, it might be I don't know, a bar or whatever it might be to just give you that peace. Just do it, man. But appreciate you, Liz. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, Bo.
And
Appreciate you as well.
Yeah, keep doing your thing. You're
You
amazing.
too. You
You're
guys,
making it
I
happen.
have learned so much. I didn't think as a female, like, what are these two guys gonna teach me? But I have had so much growth just listening to you guys and like what I'm gonna find in a future or look for in a future partner. I'm like, okay, mind blown. I didn't even know this was out there. So, thank you.
Well, listen, y'all, you heard it there. That means your boy Bug and GQ, we might know a little bit, all right? We don't know everything. We might know a little bit, all right? But listen, thank you guys for a tremendous season. Season 5, we're wrapping this thing up. Season 6 is on the way. We got a lot of shit going on. Can't wait to share it with you guys. Please, by all means, subscribe to us, Diaper Dads Podcast on YouTube. We're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor for those people who are weird. Get us on there as well. Follow us on Instagram, diaper.dads, diaper.dads, and we love you. We'll see you guys next season. That was the most perfect ending I've ever had in my life. So we're just going to roll with that, all right? We love y'all. Peace.
Hi, guys.
Peace out.